Hi, and welcome to Trust and Obey with Chuck Frank. This is a Tuesday afternoon Chuck It, and it is titled Deep Six, the Deep State. So we are 1 week into this amazing new administration. Such an answer to prayer on so many fronts. And just to kick off the second week, we get Caroline Levitt's first press meeting with no binder. And I didn't even see it, but people were calling and texting me saying, "Are you kidding me? Look at this girl. She is killing them. She is a total star." And she is. And I said, you know what? If it's as good as you're all saying, I'm going to see it everywhere for quite a while. So I can't wait to see that. So Trump and his people have done so many wonderful things this week. It's hard to chronicle all of it. And I just want to say that it is so amazing to live in an America where politicians actually work for the people. And so this deep six is 6 items that I don't want to be missed. And I was thinking about my father who died when I was 17, and he used to be on the road Monday through Friday. And when I'd get up on Monday morning, he'd already be gone, but he would clip this note to the dishwasher. And it said, "Jobs for Chuck." And there'd be a list of them, and I had better get them done by Friday. So these are 6 jobs that I'm hoping the administration will not forget and definitely get to, because they're bothering me. So the first one is the Pennsylvania shooter. It's been over 6 months since Thomas Crook shot candidate Trump in the face. And we don't know anything of consequence about this whole thing. We're just supposed to believe that, you know, bureaucrats are incompetent and they miss things. And, that's the joke. I'm from the government and I'm here to help. And I don't buy that stuff, because there are a lot of people in the government that do excellent work. And there are a lot of leaders in the government that use this kind of thing to hide behind this bureaucratic incompetence, or what I'm calling as planned incompetence. And so, Thomas Crook shot Trump on July 16th. That's over 6 months ago. And we don't know who Thomas Crooks is. That we have no social media on him. We have no letters. We have no internet trail. We have no phone records. We don't have anything. How is that possible? Okay, for a young man in his 20s involved in something like this. It's not possible. Okay. And so we shouldn't be buying it. And then there's all kinds of other things that are just such a flick in the ear constantly. Rooftop that he was on, washed by the FBI 72 hours later, so that there's no way to get a blood sample. And, then we have his body cremated by the FBI 10 days later. And his parents don't know anything. Nobody knows anything about this guy. Okay. It's completely and utterly suspicious. And then the guy who tried the second assassination attempt, Ryan Routh, okay, these guys were both in a BlackRock commercial in 2023. Now, that just begs a little help from AI, right? I might have to ask Grok, what's the probability of 2 guys who try to assassinate the same man in 2024, both being in a BlackRock commercial in 2023? What's the probability of that? Be interesting to see what AI says. But I don't really care what AI says because I know that this stinks to high heaven. Okay. Then the lead Secret Service sniper is not even a trained sniper and then gets asked to take the shot 15 seconds after all of his bullets and the president's hit. No, that's not government incompetence. That is planned incompetence. Okay. And it needs to be found out. It needs to be uncovered. And heads need to roll and not little heads, big heads. Okay. From 3-letter agencies. All right. That's number one. Deep six, the deep state. Here's number two. Great job for President Trump to get out to North Carolina and give those people some compassion and mercy and results. The day after he left, the Army Corps of Engineers is out there and they are fixing things, and those people have hope. And then he goes out to LA, right? And Gavin Newsom is at the airport unannounced in scrubby jeans and everything to not show too much respect. You know, Trump treated him fine, but it was obvious that they didn't want him there. And then he doesn't go into the meeting with the mayor and all these other people. And it was probably smart because Karen Bass was there and she barely made it out of that meeting alive. He just ate her lunch. So, fantastic that he's doing all those things for North Carolina and for LA and showing, unlike the Biden regime, that there's no partisan bias going on here. Okay. Those are both areas. The North Carolina area probably voting over 85% for Trump, and the Pacific Palisades area, they probably vote almost 90% blue. So he's at both places and he's going to get results for all of them because they're all Americans. You hear that, Barack? They're all Americans. Okay. And these goods and services come from us contributing through our paychecks to pay taxes and to create money for the country to do this. So, my concern in all this is East Palestine. Okay. Now, Trump went there as a campaigning candidate in February of 2023, and RFK Jr. claims to represent them legally, but there is nothing happening on the ground. And these people are sick. They're ill from a major ecological disaster. And nobody is coming to help them. And it's an absolute disgrace. Now, where are all the blue trusters who care so much for Gaia and practice climate paganism and love to demonstrate about any ecological issue? No, not this time. Not one of them showed up. These folks, are they a sacrifice to the train god or what's going on? Does the prophet Barry get to decide who lives and who dies based on the way they vote? No church organists get to live, no swimming chefs get to live. No, it's a new day, and I hope that Trump and his people do not forget these folks in Ohio. To his credit, JD Vance has been there once. Okay. And I get that everybody is super busy and lots of things need to be prioritized, but delegate somebody. Delegate a fire breather like Caroline Levitt, who takes no prisoners and gets stuff done. Get on it, please. Number 3 in deep sixing the deep state, Benghazi. Okay. This just stinks to high heaven. It's 12 and a half years ago on September 11, 2012. Okay. All these brave men lose their lives and others barely keep their lives, including the loss of the U.S. ambassador to Libya. So the same Al Qaeda planners working with Barack and Hillary and Jake Sullivan that organized a familiar planned incompetence strategy like the Secret Service, FBI, and CIA did in the Trump planned assassinations, denied defenders of the embassy and the annex the minimal backup that would have been basic and reasonable strategy for this kind of op. Justice cries out for the brave patriots involved. And why were our leaders complicit in this death and destruction? Who can forget Hillary saying, what does it matter at this point? What difference does it make? Makes a hell of a lot of difference. Makes a hell of a lot of difference because you and Barack stood in the way of those people getting the proper support that they should have had. And what about the annihilation of SEAL Team 6? That's another Barack endeavor, and one where we got to see him in action when Iran let him know that they would expose him for doing that unless he paid billions in cash. And we all got to see pallets of cash in the middle of the night being loaded on unmarked planes flying to Iran. What the hell is going on in our country? Not just that these people would even think to do this, but they would execute it and they would get away with it. This is 12 and a half years. 12 and a half years and no justice. And we expect special forces people and contractors to go over and do their best? No. Not without justice. And we need justice on Benghazi. Speaking of injustice, my number 4 of the deep 6, the deep state, is FEMA. There should be a movie made about the billions paid to have a bureaucratic behemoth created to help Americans restore some semblance of their lives after disasters. And you know what? I worked for FEMA and I saw 95% of the victims of disaster who come to FEMA for help say their experience dealing with FEMA was worse than the disaster. Ask people in a disaster area, they'll tell you the same thing. So pull the plug, send the money to the states, and watch justice be served, because blue states and stupid states are going to suffer the most. Because you cut a check to a blue state or a stupid state, a state that continues to elect Lindsey Graham as their senator, watch how $1 billion disappears and nothing ever makes it to the street level where it's intended. Well, they're going to live with those results. You keep electing clowns, you get a circus. So no mercy for FEMA. Number 5 on my list is the COVID prick. Okay. I spent Christmas and New Year's in New York City. Prime time commercials pushing the prick from the New York State and New York City Departments of Health. Get out there, get them fast, get them quick, get them while they're hot. And then they follow it up with mask mandates coming soon. You know what? It's just unbelievable when you go to these blue cities. Highly educated blue people suffering from cognitive dissonance are in the gravest danger. Dr. McCulloch just put out an updated report. 17 million people dead from the pricks worldwide, and many, many more dying from myocarditis and turbo cancer, and 3 times those numbers disabled to the point where they cannot return to work ever. And you know what's fascinating? It's just So interesting that the Stargate billionaires are so heavily invested in this global genocide. So when they're pushing that program and they're also pushing global death, don't trust them. And you better not trust your doc because they own that cat. All right. Number 6, deep 6, the deep state. This has to be done. And I wish it was a Hegseth item because it requires total lethality. 55,000 leftist NGOs need to be purged in court and must reimburse the United States for all of their treasonous malfeasance under Biden. These people were paid billions and billions of dollars to incite poor and downtrodden people in South and Central America to come up through the Darien Gap. Kids rape, women rape, all of it known. Entities like Catholic Charities supposedly representing Jesus Christ, giving these people rape drugs and all kinds of things because they know what's going to happen to them. And then all these kids disappear, and the vast majority of them come up through with adults who they don't have the same DNA with. And then let's look at how Wall Street played the NGO game. Vanguard, Morgan Stanley, getting a tax benefit by giving money to the NGOs that fund the CCP group, Chinese Progressive Association, who engage in fifth generation warfare against our country. Don't you love the morality of the caring left and their Wall Street benefactors? This all has to be found out. It needs to be rolled out. And justice needs to roll over all these people. And they need to be made an example of so that they are afraid to try this again. Because otherwise, the next time we get stupid and embrace a democratic regime for some rotten promise they'll never keep, all these people will show up and do the same thing again. Need some scalps. So that's the end of Deep Six, the deep state. I normally weave scripture into these things, but today it's just going to be 2 sentences from the Constitution. Article 3, Section 3, Clause 1, levying war as treason. Treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of 2 witnesses to the same overt act or on confessions in open court. I'm voting for confessions in open court. There is treason in every single one of these 6 items. And we shouldn't call it any other name. It's like saying abortion is not child sacrifice. And by the way, thank you, President Trump, and all of your workers for removing federal funding for abortion. Things are going to get better. I am sure my 6 are going to get done. And then we will have a God-blessed America. God bless you and thanks.